Spotlight. I'm Carmela Sterling, and my guest today is Paul Trammell, who is probably the most inspiring dream maker ever. And I'll tell you why in a couple of minutes, but we're not going to delay this introduction because he's live from, where are you right now, Paul, please?
I'm in Boca del Toro, Panama.
On the boat, which is home. The dream come true.
My home. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Absolutely.
We can hear the water splashing.
Yeah, there's a little bit of chop on the water today. The wind has been blowing out of the west, so we have a lot of fetch to the west, which means there's some little waves, and we're moving. That's why you can see the background, and that's why I'm rocking back and forth here.
Gosh,
always emotion when you live on a sailboat, even at anchor.
Wow. And you mentioned he was showing us these buckets of rainwater, and this is what you drink, the rainwater, Paul?
There they are. Yeah. Yeah. I catch rain when I'm here in Panama, just from the tarps above the boat. I have the boat covered in tarps because it's sunny, and the water drains off the tarps into these buckets, and that's by far the best drinking water I've ever come across. It's just pure, clean water.
We're going to learn so much today. Do you think that's what keeps you as healthy as you are? This rainwater? It sounds so good.
I don't know if it's the rainwater. It's certainly that's part of it. I have a very good diet too. I spearfish and fish. I fish usually with the spear, but that's pretty much all I eat. All the protein I eat is fish or beans. Beans and rice too. But I eat fish all the time.
Listen, this man is very accomplished, by the way. He has his own podcast. He's an author of multiple books and has a book coming out August 1st. He's a solo sailor exploring the world on this beautiful, 40-foot craft? Is it? It's a big craft?
It's a 40-foot monohull, 40-foot sailboat from 1972.
So when Paul and I connected, I thought to myself, I'm completely like wowed by him, the eccentricity of living on a boat and writing novels, but the way he lived. So I thought, we really need to hear from this man to inspire us, because your dream of living on a boat, drinking rainwater, spearfishing your dinner. Hey, by the way, do you cook on the boat? I know that sounds like a simple question, but
oh yeah,
you cook. Okay.
Yeah. I've got a 3-burner propane gas stove with oven as well, so it's a nice. I have a nice kitchen. Yeah, by sailboat standards, it's pretty good.
And this is
a normal sink behind it.
Can you take us for a little, maybe just a little panoramic view? Since we're live?
Sure. I'm sitting in the cockpit, so here behind me is the helm, the steering wheel, and this is the back of my navigation station there. And let's see, we'll spin around this way, and you can sort of see the companionway going down inside of the boat, and some winches and some ropes behind me. I'll let you peek. I don't know if you can. Dark down there, but there's the inside of the boat. And here's a little more. Let's just go for a little walk. Why don't we just take a little walk here? It's drizzling rain, but it's Panama. So the funny thing about the rain here is it's not unpleasant. You can just stand out in the rain and it's not cold. But here we are at the bow of the boat. Camera's facing the front of the boat now. I'll try to show you something. Yeah, there's the bow where the anchors are. And
do you want to go full?
Behind me there's the mast.
We're going to go full screen so people can see only you. I'm just jaw drop. There he is.
Yeah, just trying to show you where we are. That's Isla Solarte behind me. This island here. And there's a few other sailboats around you can probably see. Might be able to see in the background. Yeah.
How are you getting internet out there?
Starlink. So I just got Starlink. There it is. I haven't properly mounted it yet, but it comes with this little stand, and I've got a bunch of chain piled up on the base of it so it won't blow away. But I just ordered some aluminum, angle aluminum, and some straps. I'm gonna properly mount it to the solar panel arch on the back of the boat.
We're all enamored with you in this lifestyle. What people don't know or may not know, and I encourage you all to go listen to this podcast. It wasn't always easy, and it didn't come out of some flippant dream like, oh, I'm just going to go live on a boat and spend the rest of my days just sailing the ocean, although you just recently got back from a trip, which we'll share with everyone. But this came out of really your artistic heart, for sure. You love to paint. I know you're a musician as well. You played for many, many years. But you had a point in your life that was pivotal. Would you mind taking us there in your own words for just a couple of minutes, Paul?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. That's how this all started. Back in my dream was to be a musician from the late '90s through up until about 2015 or so, 16. And I was living that life completely. I was devoted to it. I was a carpenter, mainly because being a carpenter, you can be a musician. You don't work nights. You can take days off when you need to.
Love that.
And I also lived the life like I partied hard. You know, I was living I was living the way I thought a musician was supposed to live, which is kind of ridiculous. But anyway, one day at a party, I saw my friend Jim, and I offered him a beer, and he said, "No, I quit drinking." And I had been thinking about it because I knew I drank way too much. And I said, "Well, Jim, tell me, how'd you do it, and why did you do it?" And he said, "I did it because my brother died, and his brother was younger than me at the time. I was 44. This guy was 40, and he died from a lifetime of heavy drinking. You know, internal organ failure. That's what happens when you drink a lot of liquor. You're poisoning your whole body, and eventually, if you drink enough, your organs fail, all of them. I mean, your brain, your heart, your liver, your pancreas, your stomach, your intestines, they all are just dying slowly. And that's what happened to that dude. And it all just hit me. I quit drinking the next day. And that was over 8 years ago. I have not had a drink in over 8 years. And thank you. Yeah. And it wasn't just alcohol. I was a big-time pot smoker, too. And I quit that as well. And coincidentally, quitting smoking weed was harder than quitting alcohol. Who would have thought
that interesting.
Marijuana is physically addictive? But it is. You know, the medical community accepts that it is physically addictive. It's not just habit forming. So I quit that too, and all of a sudden my mind turned back on. All of a sudden I could think. I could hold a lot bigger thoughts in my head. I mean, it just changed so dramatically. I started writing. People started asking me for advice about how I quit drinking on Facebook because I was sharing, and I started writing messages back and forth to lots of people who were trying to quit. And eventually I realized I've got enough material here just on Facebook Messenger to be the rough draft of a book. And so I compiled it, and I started thinking about, well, what's my method? I mean, this is working. It's working for me. And what is it? I put it together and thought, okay, I'm actually going to write a book, my first book. And I did. And it's called Alcoholics Not Anonymous, A Modern Way to Quit Drinking. It's for people who don't want to go to AA. I got nothing against AA. I just don't want to go. And I think a lot of alcoholics don't want to go to AA. They're not going to. And they're simply not going to go. They need a method as well. So that's who the book is written for, because that's how I did it. And that was the first. And I've written 8 or 9 other books since then. I've written another one about alcoholism more recently that's more research-based, called The Joy of Living Clean and Sober.
This joy that you're experiencing has touched down in your life in many ways. Listening to your podcast and reading through your books, like to take the money that you spent on the alcohol and marijuana.
That's right. That's how it started. Yeah, I wanted to reward myself. I mean, that's one of the steps I put in the book. Save your money and spend it on something for your first year, or give yourself a big reward. And my big reward was a sailing class. I took a 1-week sailing class, and I was hooked. And then I booked a trip with through Crew Bay. Just someone, people that sail need crews sometimes, and you can find them and you can go sail on their boat. And I did that. I did a trip, and I was hooked.
Someone that at a party that you met had a story to share that impacted you. You took a sailing class from someone who taught you that impacted you. I mean, look at what's happening here as we talk about just this series under the spotlight of people who are impactful and positive. Your story is we're enthralled with you. You've written so many books on multiple topics. You have a new one coming out, a thriller, yes, a novel, psychological thriller. Is that right? In August 1st?
That's right. August 1st, Until They Bury Me releases. And that's a psychological thriller. That's my third novel. I think it's by far my best novel. And yeah, it's about it touches on mental illness and crime and drug addiction. It's based in the city. It's basically the basic story is a guy falls back in love with his college sweetheart who he hasn't seen in a long time, and he remembers her the way she used to be, and so he moves to the city to be with her, and they get married right away, and it heats up, and then all of a sudden he realizes that she's not normal. She's very not normal. He's actually not so normal himself, but it's the story rolls from there, and all kinds of bizarre things happen. He gets involved in organized crime, and it's the end of the book is it all sort of comes together in the end in an unexpected way, but where you kind of go, now all those strange things make sense.
Oh, I can't wait to read this.
But it's completely unpredictable, the end. I love it. I worked on it for a year and a half, and it's finally finished. I actually recorded it as an audiobook too for the first time.
Did you? Oh, that's
available.
fantastic. And I love your smile. It's like, I'm not telling you the end. You'll have to read it for sure. So I can buy it on audio. I can buy the book via Amazon. And of course, your website. Your website is loaded. I love it. I can do everything there. I learn about you, follow your podcast, follow all of your writings. Do you take these trips, Paul, and map them out? Like, I want to go here because of a specific thing, and then the inspiration comes? I mean, how do you map that out a little bit, please?
Yeah, my last big trip that I wrote about was Newfoundland and Canada, and that's a place I wanted to go from the very beginning. When I was just getting into sailing, I was thinking, where do I want to go, and what do I really want to do? And I wanted to go somewhere where the wilderness met the ocean, where you could sail and anchor and be surrounded by pure wilderness and not civilization. And it's really hard to find places like that anywhere in the whole world. But I was basically using Google Earth, scrolling around, going up the U.S. East Coast, thinking about Maine, and then I kept going north and saw Nova Scotia, and then I went further north and saw the south coast of Newfoundland, and that's where I found it. You can see just by looking at Google Earth that the central part of the south coast is completely uninhabited. There's deep fjords. You can sail up into these fjords where you have cliffs on both sides of you, and anchor and be surrounded by mountains, wilderness. And it's just unbelievably gorgeous. It's absolutely surpassed all my expectations.
Can't even imagine. Wow,
you're sailing. It's unbelievable. Yeah, it's unbelievable, and that's the subject of my book, Sailing to Newfoundland.
Oh my gosh!
Pictures,
please.
It was unbelievable.
You're saying it's unbelievable.
The book has lots of pictures.
It has lots of pictures, so I need to see that, right? Because it's something I'll never do. How long was that? I know Peter had a map up for us, which I think you'll enjoy seeing. This, by the way, is Paul's first video podcast. He's a proficient and prolific podcaster, but first time we're getting to see him in his environment. How long was that by water, that trek to?
I sailed from Florida, from St. Augustine, Florida to Maine nonstop. And that was about 8 or 9 days. 1,200 or 1,400 miles or something. And then I did some day trips through Maine going north. And then I did a 2 or 3 day trip from Maine to Nova Scotia. And then it was day sailing through Nova Scotia. And then it was an overnighter from Nova Scotia to Newfoundland.
Sleeping on the water.
And that was all. Yeah. When I sail long distances like that, you're constantly sailing. You don't stop sailing. You take naps. You can't sleep. I don't allow myself to sleep more than 20 minutes at a time when I'm sailing. And it works. It's called polyphasic sleeping. If you look it up and you can read about it, there's a whole science behind it. You don't just do it all at night. You do it throughout the day as well. So it's difficult, but you get used to it. After about 3 days, the first 2 days are a little weird. Yeah. But after about 3 days, you're completely used to it, and you could just keep going. And you don't feel like anything's too abnormal.
You're teaching us things that we would not normally look up because of your lifestyle, like that way of sleeping. That actually resonates with me. That makes sense. It's like constantly being recharged again, as opposed to tired and getting this big recharge. It's a little more. I actually like that. You look very healthy. So whatever you're doing, yes, no alcohol, no marijuana, but your lifestyle, drinking rainwater, living in moving water, the kinetic feeling, the
Oh
whole
yeah,
that being near moving water. I just can only imagine like how healthy you feel on the inside.
it's great. Yeah, I love being this close to nature. That was kind of a problem for me throughout life. I always felt cut off. There's a lot of people that live like this out on sailboats, and I think we all are out here because we want to be surrounded by nature. We want to be on the water. We don't want to be connected to a city or a town. We don't want to be surrounded by cars and concrete and buildings and stuck in the same place. It's it's kind of like my whole life. I knew something wasn't quite right. And I knew that, and I kind of knew that I knew I wanted to be closer to nature. But once I got out here on the boat and started living it, I realized right away, like, this is it. This is what I've been looking for. This is what's right for me.
I'm ready to buy a boat.
It's not for everybody. It's kind of like it's kind of like camping, and sometimes you just got to be tough. But most of the time it's beautiful and it's serene, and it's mostly wonderful. Yeah, if you can deal with the hardships that come with living in nature.
What's happened is my husband's. I agree with you. All right, we have people agreeing with you because a lot of us don't feel like we fit in. We have some questions, and I know Paul is very generous. One, to take us live on a tour on his boat to be with him. This is really a special treat, and I'm honored that it's happening under the spotlight. We have just some all over questions. I know you can talk about crafts vessel all day long because you're in one. You've spoken about them. You know the crafts, but we have some simple questions. Any fears? Like, are you afraid of sharks?
I was terrified of sharks in the beginning. I mean, terrified, because you see them in the Bahamas like regularly. And I love to be in the water. I love to dive. I love to spearfish and snorkel. But then you see a shark, and it's like, if you're scared of them, like, you're scared, like really scared.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to get over that. And the way I did it is when I first started my podcast, Offshore Sailing and Cruising, one of the first people I interviewed, it's episode 4, is Jim Abernethy, who's a shark expert, a shark diver. He leads shark dives without cages. They go to the Bahamas, they bait the sharks in, and they sit on the bottom, and these huge tiger sharks swim all around them. So I'm going to talk to this guy. I got to talk to this guy and figure out what we need to know. So it was education. I educated myself about sharks through that podcast interview. I asked him all the questions, like, how can you tell an angry shark from a nice shark, and how are we supposed to react? What do you do when you're spearfishing and you see one? Like, how should you react? There's a lot of questions I had. He answered them all. He assuaged all my fears. Right away, I go back out after doing that interview, and I 15-foot hammerhead swims right by me. I mean, right next to me. He just swam by. And I wasn't scared. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm not scared. I'm kind of scared, but I'm not like terrified like I would have been.
Well, I'd love to hear the advice from you, but I'm kind of putting it together like a puzzle here. You had a concern. You went to the best resource. You get some information. You apply it. Like, as Paul is talking, how is this hitting home for you, ladies and gentlemen? I mean, all that he's already done and what he's doing in his life now. How inspiring! But that is the magic. Go get the information, find the resource, the information, apply it. Paul?
Yeah, it's like dogs. Like, what do you do when a big dog comes up to you on the street that you're afraid of? You look them in the eye, and you stand your ground. It's just information. Same thing with bears in the woods. If you stand your ground, you make yourself look big. You look them in the eye. Sharks are the same way. And the bottom line is, if you have the information, if you know what you're supposed to do, then the fear goes away. It's the same with sailing. If you understand what you're supposed to do when the weather gets bad, then your fear of bad weather goes away.
Beautiful.
It's all about it. It's all information. It's all available because we live in the world of the internet. It's all available to us now.
Exactly.
Everything.
Go look it up. Go YouTube it.
Just look
Google
it up. Yeah.
Unbelievable. Do you spend much time on land? I was thinking of your last trip to Newfoundland and the wilderness around you. I would have wanted to get out, walk around, and feel that quiet. Did you do that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I mean, in general, no, I don't spend much time on land. I go to shore about once a week, maybe. But in Newfoundland, I took every opportunity to hike because that was one of my main goals. I wanted to hike up the mountains to the tops of because it's wild and unbelievable and weird. So yeah, I did a lot of hiking in Newfoundland, and it was extraordinary in every way. You get up to the top of the mountains because you're surrounded by like 8 to 1,200 foot mountains. You're in a fjord, so you've got these walls on both sides of you, and if you can get to the tops of those, which is difficult, but you can get up there. Then you're in this weird moonscape sort of area where it's all rocks and ponds and pools and other mountains and no civilization and no trees and no bushes. You can see for miles in every direction, and nobody lives there. You can't see. There's not even airplanes flying overhead. It's like nowhere I've ever been.
It's like I want to breathe that air, right? Isn't everybody else feeling that? Like,
it's clean air. Absolutely, yeah.
How long will you stay in Panama, where you are now? How long do you plan on staying there? Do you have a timeline?
I'm basically here for hurricane season. So when you sail, you've got to get out of the hurricane zone, and the hurricane zone is like the entire North Atlantic, basically. And it's expanding. Like there's one headed towards Ireland. Last time I checked, it was like Hurricane Dan headed for Ireland. I'm like, what the heck?
Oh my gosh!
Well, one of them hit Portugal a few years ago. Portugal's never been hit by a hurricane, but they got. But anyway, Panama is outside the hurricane zone, unless it expands south, which you never know. But this is a safe place.
Anything?
So I'll be here until December. Till
December. Anything you'd like to tell us for those of us who are stuck on land and want to make that trek, go rent a boat, spend the day on the water, just as people. We watch a lot of documentaries here in this household about whales. PJ, our son, has a fascination with the water, and it's a lot of like documentary type. And humans need to be kinder to the water, basically, is where I'm going with this. And we do, right? To the marine life and,
Yeah, get out and see it while you can. Not only while you're young and able to do it, but while it's still there, like coral reefs,
exactly.
It just makes you want to cry. They're dying worldwide. They're not going to be. I mean, they may or may not be around. Since I started diving in the 90s, so like 1991 or 1990, I did a lot of scuba diving in the Bahamas, and the reefs were just blow your mind, gorgeous, beautiful live coral. You go back to the same reefs now, and they're dead. It's just rocks. They look like rocks with algae growing on them. There's still some live coral, but it's mostly dead. So, and that's due to climate change. And the climate's not changing back in the other direction. So get out and see the coral while you can, and vote.
Take the adventure, right? Take the adventure. What was the other question that we had? Just eating food. People want to know: are you going to the store every week? How are you handling the provisions that you need?
Yeah, here in Panama, I've got Focus Town next to me, and there's ample grocery stores.
Nice.
No problem. Fruits and vegetables are cheap here. I eat pineapples and bananas and apples and some local fruits like plantains. The pineapples are local. I just discovered a vegetable I like, but I still don't even know what the name of it is. There's all kinds of stuff like that here, and then some places here. Awesome. There's a lot of Native Americans that live here, Native people, the Ngobe Indians, and they paddle around in dugout canoes and sell fruit right out of their canoes, and sometimes fish or lobster. But there's some places here where every day these young boys, it's always young boys, like 12 years old, paddle up in a canoe. They don't speak, they don't say anything. They'll just paddle up to your boat and sit there quietly until you notice them, and then they'll have a pineapple or a big like whole bunch of bananas, and they want like $2 for or maybe a wanabana. Like I didn't know what a wanabana was until I bought one. I was on the beach surfing, and this kid wanted to sell me a wanabana, and I'm like, all right, I'm in their community. I'm gonna buy whatever they're selling because So I bought this wanabana. Like, what the heck is a wanabana? I had no idea if it was a fruit or a vegetable or an animal. Like he had it in a backpack.
Right,
pet
wanabana.
Yeah, it was this green fruit, and I cut into it and started eating it, and it tasted like fruit punch. I mean, it's the fruit punch fruit, apparently.
Oh, my God.
It was unbelievable. I mean, it was so good. I was just laughing, and I was handing out pieces to my friends and to these kids, And we were all everybody was smiling and laughing and eating this fruit. It's like ugly. It's this ugly fruit the size of like a football, but it is so good.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh!
and that's the
like
kind of thing
where,
you experience when you just
where
buy a
fruit,
fruit from a kid.
where fruit punch really comes from, right?
I think
The
that's
probably-
where the flavor comes from. It has to, because that's what it
Exactly.
tastes like.
I mean, you're right in it. You're in nature, like fruit like that, and the pineapple must taste incredibly fresh. I mean, oh, I just
Yeah.
thought, but those are the blessings you deserve for living the life you are, which is inspiring to so many of us. Your after alcoholism and the marijuana, your writing books, your sharing your story transparently. I mean, it's just incredible how transparent you really are to let us look into your life, to answer our curious questions of this eccentricity of living on a boat. But it's a dream. It's a beautiful dream. I have a curious question. I'm sure Peter wants to know too. Are you playing much? Did you bring a guitar? Did you keep one of your guitars at least? Come on, say yes.
I have a guitar, and I have my old oil paints as well. But you know what? I never used either of them because I'm writing now, and that's kind of how it's always been in my life. I'll be into one particular art form deep, and it's hard to do more than one for me. All my artistic energy is concentrated into writing now. It's just this whole new world. It is a whole new world that's fascinating. It's infinite. You can create entire situations and worlds, and you can get into people's minds. You get directly into a reader's mind. You affect people. I mean, I love that about playing music. You get into people's heads and bodies and affect them. But it's different. Writing. So with music, you're creating emotions. You play music. People feel something. It's an emotion. They want to dance. You succeeded as a musician. When you write and you get into someone's head, you're creating thoughts. You're affecting the way they think and the way they're going to think for the rest of their life.
Wow.
So there's really nothing. It's so fascinating, and there's nothing better than the feeling of knowing, for instance, that I helped someone quit drinking with one of my 2 books. Like when I get a review or someone sends me an email and it says, I read your book and I'm sober now. Like, oh God, it feels so good. I mean, it feels better than a beer and a bong hit. It feels better than any drug. It's incredible. And it's not just those 2 books. It's the sailing. I inspire people. People tell me that I've inspired them to buy a boat and go sailing. They've been scared to do it, and now they're doing it, and that's wonderful too. And even with my novels, novels are fiction, but they're not just fun and games. You're also affecting the way people think and feel. I mean, look what 1984 did to the world, or Brave New World. All the good novels get into your head, make you think a little bit differently, teach you life lessons. And that's what it's all about. It's, being here on Earth, the whole point of life, in my opinion, is to learn and to try to make the world a better place. And it's the artists who have the power to change the world.
And that is that right there, Paul. The other day when we were talking, I told you a story that would normally take like 15, 20 minutes. I think I spoke it to you in 10 seconds. I had those same chills with you about being an artist. There's something about him that's special. I know you're seeing it. Our audience is really responding to you. We all want to read your books. We are going to go to your website. We want to see pictures. Your calling is to inspire us. You are absolutely right, and I could never say it any better than it is the artist to bring that change for sure. There it is. Until They Bury Me. It's coming out August 1st. That's right around the corner. Can't wait.
It's like next Monday, I think. Soon,
wow.
Very soon. I'm so happy to see it released into the world like a newborn child. I think I don't have any children, but I think it's probably similar.
Exactly right.
That's as close as I'm going to come.
But I love that God gave you this gift of your artistic ability to paint, to draw, to play music, and now to write, because you need an income. This is also a part of how you function out there, right? The podcast,
absolutely.
The books.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to live on a sailboat full time and you're not retired and wealthy, you need to work, and you need to work in some way that you can do online. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's writing, and podcasting started off as a means to my original idea was I got to get my name out there to sell books. Maybe a sailing podcast would help. Well, the sailing podcast has turned into it's its own thing now. It exists. It's gotten big, which I didn't ever expect, but it really has turned into one of the top, certainly one of the top sailing podcasts. And I'm actually going to start another podcast where I interview. Yeah, I'm going to start one. I think it's going to be called Dream Chasers and Eccentrics. And I'm going to. So I want to interview people that have chased a dream. And I've already got an interview set up with an author, and I think I have an in with actors. So my brother's an actor, so I'm going to probably have some actors on there too, and anyone who's chased a dream and gone for it, whether they succeeded or not. But that's the idea. How did you get there? How did you do it? How did you start?
One piece of advice before you leave us about chasing your dream. You obviously never stopped, and now you're inspiring others, and I love that fuels you.
Yeah, one quick, easy piece of advice is baby steps. Big dreams come about through lots of small steps. So it helps to plan and to think to yourself, what's the first step, and then go do it. Whether it's a dream or just a difficult thing you have to do, think to yourself, what's the first step, the very first step that I can do today, and then go do that one little step, and do the second step tomorrow. And then it might be a year, it might be 5 years, but 5 years are going to pass anyway. So you might as well achieve your dreams 5 years from now.
And the point of achieving a dream is you enjoy it. It's either a calling, a passion, it's in your DNA. In addition to that, or separately, it's like something you picture, and it's like you have to get it out, and you're doing that with your writing. You are awe-inspiring, and we just love you to pieces. Can we say thank you from everybody to Paul, and maybe you can leave our audience with a last look of inspiration as we pan back to see more of your.
It's raining now.
It's raining?
Oh yeah, it's raining. That's why it's all turned white behind me. But there's a big blue surfboard above me. How about that? One of my other favorite things is to surf.
So you'll leave the boat and go surf?
Oh yeah. Check it out. Here's my dinghy. So I get in this little boat right here, and take off to one of the local point breaks. There's good surf here in Panama. That's one of the main reasons I'm here. It's not just to hide from hurricanes. It's to surf. It's good surf here.
It's to surf. Okay, so this is
fun things in the whole world to do is to surf.
This is one of the reasons why your podcasts are so popular, right? You're talking about things that most people dream about doing. You're actually doing them. Surfing, spearfishing, traveling, writing books. Oh, it's wonderful. Well, we're all going to follow along, and I thank you so much for the gift of time and sharing your art with us and your love. We appreciate you, Paul.
Thank you for having me on your show. It's an honor. It's an honor to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak to people.
You're welcome. I hope we catch up again soon. Don't go away. We're going to take you off camera to thank the audience. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, audience. Wow. Inspiring? Yes. Like, what am I going to go do first? Are you feeling that? Yes. Let us know. Stay in touch. We want you to connect. Right to his website. We're putting it in the description on the podcast, in the live, as well as, of course, everywhere that it appears in social media. If you need further assistance connecting with Paul, carmelasterling.com, you can reach me there. Thank you to our producer. Thank you to our sponsor today. And thank you, Paul, for making our day even more magical. See you all next time here under the spotlight.